Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us at HIALI's 46th Annual Meeting and Legislative Program. Before we begin, I will ask that you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We would like to start off today by thanking our board of directors. They are a vital part of our organization. We have many of our board in attendance today, and I will ask that they please stand so we can give them a round of applause. Thank you all. We also have a number of sponsors in the room today. Without our sponsors, we would not be able to provide such great programming. As I list all the sponsors, please hold your applause until the end. Astoria Communications, our AV provider today. Bob Giglione Photography, our photographer today. Campolo, Middleton, and McCormick. Catholic Health, Centaurus, Citron Cooperman, Dime Community Bank, Farrell Fritz, GSC Dynamics, H2M Architects and Engineers, Long Island Cares, who you'll be hearing from shortly, Mark Grossman, Public Relations, National Grid, People's Alliance Federal Credit Union, PSEG Long Island, Sandler Training, SAS Earth & Co., Suffolk County Community College, Sun Nation Energy, Superior Washer and Gasket, and the Kulka Group. Let's give them all a round of applause. Before we move on, I'd like to introduce one of our sponsors, President and CEO of Long Island Cares, Paul Pachter.
Good morning. Thank you, Hallie, and happy belated New Year to everyone. I hope it's one filled with good health and a great deal of peace. It's my pleasure to present some welcoming remarks. Certainly want to acknowledge my good friend, Ed Werheim, from Smithtown, a great friend of Long Island Cares, John Walzer. Thank you. And now the new Suffolk County Executive, Ed Romaine. I've had the opportunity during the past 6 months to get to know Ed Romaine a little better. He is truly a unique individual. He came to Long Island Cares twice, once to meet with the HIA, and then again to meet with a small group of nonprofit human service leaders. And I was extremely impressed with his commitment to the nonprofit community here on Long Island. We even had an opportunity over the summer to spend some time together late at night outside of a Ducks game, where I had the opportunity to meet his lovely wife. And in turn, he met mine. He also, and I'm extremely thankful for extending an invitation to me to serve on his transition committee, which I did with great pleasure. And I was a part of the Health, Human Services, and Education Committee, where we made several recommendations. I made some recommendations, my colleagues made some. And on his first day in office, he implemented one of them by appointing a deputy county executive for health, education, and human services. If you want to know who Ed Romaine is, look in his eyes when he's with his grandchildren. And then you will understand the character that he has. And I saw that firsthand at his inauguration. My friend and colleague, John Flanagan, who emceed the inauguration ceremony, kept saying, "This is a great day for Suffolk County." The Ed Romaine that I've come to know I changed that a little bit. This is a damn great day for Long Island, and congratulations.
All right, thank you again, Paul. Next, we would like to acknowledge the dignitaries here today, some of them who you'll be hearing from shortly. Again, please hold your applause until the end. Senator Alex Wyke, Stevens Martinez representing Governor Kathy Hochul's office, Suffolk County Executive Ed Romaine, Town of Smithtown Supervisor Ed Wareheim, Suffolk County Legislator Steve Flotterin, Suffolk County Legislator Stephanie Bontempi, Suffolk County Legislator Jason Richburg, Suffolk County Legislator Trish Bergen, Suffolk County Legislator Kevin McCaffrey, Suffolk County Legislator Ann Welker, Suffolk County Legislator Rebecca Sanin, Suffolk County Commissioner of Economic Development and Planning, Sarah Lansdale, Director of Economic Development in the Town of Islip, John Walser, Executive Director of the Town of Islip Foreign Trade Zone, Brad Hemingway, Kara Longworth, Regional Director of Empire State Development, New York State Assemblyman Steve Stern, and Legislator Samuel Gonzalez. Let's give them all a round of applause. And now I would like to introduce to the stage HIA-LI President and CEO, Terry Alessi Maselli.
So good morning again, everyone. So, I just heard that the deadline to say Happy New Year is January 15th. So we're right in the deadline, right? So Happy New Year to everyone. Real excited to be here. Extremely proud of what the HIA-LI has accomplished in 2023. As we look at what's going on in the world, we need to continue to be optimistic on Long Island and really understand what we're doing, I think, really quite well, right? So let me first say, again, thank you to the dignitaries who really go out on a daily basis and advocate for us. We were honored to be on Suffolk County Executive Ed Romaine's transition team. Paul spoke a little bit about it to talk about the betterment of Suffolk County. We're real excited to see what will happen with that as well. To our board who carries out our initiatives, our executive committee for their guidance, and our committee co-chairs who are on the frontline team, who are really working with our committees and really working with our members to just help you make a better connection, become better educated, and grow your businesses. So thank you, the staff who makes it all happen. 2023 for us was a year, like for many of you, of rebuilding, right? So when we look at that, we continue to make major strides in this Long Island Innovation Park at Hauppauge. Thank you again to our valued partners, Ed Wareheim, the town of Smithtown, and the town of Islip. We really appreciate it. One of the things that came out of the sustainability study was branding. How do we really look at this park and say, how do we brand it for what it is? The largest in the Northeast, as you know, 55,000 employees, 13 billion in economic output, a major economic engine on Long Island. So I have to say, Suffolk County Executive, now, that's in your area. This park is in your area. You should be very excited about that, yes? Very excited. So thank you again to Paul Pachter, who had the idea of doing flags in the park to begin that branding. So thank you for that idea. You'll see brick and mortar signs. We worked extensively on the sewerage expansion. Thank you to Sarah. Thank you to DPW and to H2M. Really for pushing that forward. And that is one of the ways we will be able to encourage developers to build apartments in this park. So the live, work, play concept, which is very important to all of us, but particularly to our young professionals, will happen. In 2024, we'll look at doing a transportation study for the park to really understand the egress, the degress, and what's happening. We're partnering right now with NYSERDA and Circuit to bring in electric vehicles in the park. So a lot of really exciting things going on. Our task forces continue to just move things forward very strongly. Our Long Island Economic Development Task Force, thank you to Joe Campolo and his team, have broadened their scope. So not only are we now supporting and advocating for in the park, but we're supporting for transformative regional projects of significance outside the park. Things like Midway Crossing, things like Shoregate, things like Station Yards, all of these things that we need, right, to grow Long Island. Thank you to our Workforce Development Task Force, to Rich Human for H2M and Ed Bonifeu for Suffolk Community College, who lead that initiative for us. They are helping make a better connection between institutions and businesses. We hear you. It is still difficult to find good people, right, to attract them and retain them. So we did a study in 2023 with Workforce Development Institute and the Suffolk IDA to look at best practices in attracting and retaining employees. So we'll do a lot of work in that area in 2024. Thank you to our Small Business Task Force. Rita DiStefano and her team also did a survey in the beginning of 2023 to ask our small businesses what they need and why they need it and how we can help them in that area. And they continue to just push out really progressive programming. And to our Women's Task Force. So our board chair, Carol Allen, unfortunately has COVID. She could not be with us this morning, but she leads that initiative with a bunch of powerhouse women. I know, Ann, some of them are in the room. Wow, they knocked it out of the park. Over 300 business professionals came together in 2023, many of them women, and they said after the conference they were inspired, they were motivated, and they felt heard, so we'll do a lot more work in that area. I'm proud to say that we grew membership in 2023 over 21%. So what does that mean to all of you? You have more businesses to connect to. You have more businesses, obviously, to do business with. And our marketing strategies just soared. We looked at a 60% increase in things like Instagram, a 40% increase in LinkedIn, and many of the others. We started a HIALI channel in 2023, extremely successful, to help us push out a lot of the projects that we're working on. And we continue to do our podcast, where we are highlighting CEOs who are truly making a difference. We have so much to be grateful for, I have to tell you. Not only, again, what we've accomplished in 2023, but moving forward in 2024. And I have to say that I believe the biggest thing we should be grateful for is all of you. I really, truly feel that way, because when you think about each one of us who get up every single morning and get dressed every single morning and go to work and run our businesses despite the difficulties, despite it, and we just succeed, that's a big, big deal. So thank you for giving back to the economy, both Long Island and regionally. I really encourage you to get involved with us. People tell us that they feel like they're heard, they're involved in our projects. We're very granular and have a personal touch. Please get involved in 2024. And we look forward to working with all of you. So let me introduce our treasurer, Alan Sassereth, for his first treasurer's report. Yes, his first treasurer's report. Give him a round of applause.
Thank you, Terry. Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year as well, since we're before the deadline, Terry. As a CPA, I know about deadlines, so Happy New Year. So I'm truly appreciative of the opportunity to be both on the board of directors and the treasurer of the HIA. I think we can all agree that Terry and her team do a great job, great work for the Long Island business community. And, and the board of directors is made up of a number of great leaders as well: Joe Campolo, Scott Maskin, Rich Human, to name a few. And the HIA is a board of doers. The board accomplishes so many great things. Everything that Terry just mentioned was through the efforts of her team, and you know, with the board of directors right behind her as well. So, you know, so thank you. With regards to the treasurer's report, over the last year, the HIALI, through our tireless efforts, was ultimately able to pivot, increase revenues, and with limited resources, continue to be there for our member companies and the Long Island business community. 2003 was a year of rebuilding and helping all of us get back on track. It's appreciated by many of you. We also increased our membership base, as Terry said, by 21%, which allows all of you to connect with more businesses on Long Island. We all agree that that organizations like the HIALI boost and nurture local economic development. We keep Long Island's economies churning, and businesses need our help now more than ever. We are optimistic about 2024 and look forward to continuing to be a resource for the Long Island business community now and in the future. Now, I'm going to introduce the HIALI Secretary, Michael Volz. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Great to be here. All right. In light of the momentum we've gained in helping with the growth of the Long Island economy, the following business leaders, in addition to myself, have been re-elected to the HIA Executive Committee. If you hear your name and you're in the room in attendance, please stand. Chairperson of the board, Carol Allen, People's Alliance Federal Credit Union. Sorry to hear that Carol has COVID. First Vice Chair, Anthony Mineta, Standard Advisors. Second Vice Chair, Kevin O'Connor, KMO Strategies. Treasurer, Alan Sasterath and Company, who you just met. Secretary, myself, Mike Volz from PSCG Long Island. Past Board Chair, Rich Human from H2M. Let's give everyone a round of applause. Ballots were sent to each HIALI member company to vote for and re-elect following board members. As a result, these business leaders have been re-elected for an additional 3-year term on the HIALI Board of Directors. If you hear your name and you're in the room, please stand. Chris Kent, Farrell Fritz, PC. John Bauer, Littler, PC. Ann Shabanko Moore, GSE Dynamics. I saw Ann in the room. Carol Allen, People's Alliance Federal Credit Union. Scott Maskin from Sun Nation. Bob Isaacson, Bank of America. And Joe Garofolo, Huntington Baptist Church. Give everyone a round of applause. Congratulations to all the folks who were just reelected as board members. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Joe Campolo as our moderator for today's event. Joe?
Thanks, Mike. Welcome to 2024, everybody. This is an exciting, thanks, Ed. This is an exciting program ahead of us. I said I feel like Mike Douglas in this format. I don't know.
That's a nice being old.
Yes. I want to echo everybody's sentiment. I'm not going to say Happy New Year, but I do want to welcome back old friends in Ed and John, and I want to welcome a new friend in Mr. Romaine, our new Suffolk County executive. I want to publicly congratulate him on behalf of HIALI for a win for Long Island. Ed's a fighter, right? He's a fighter. He's been a fighter his whole career. And Long Island needs fighters, right? It needs fighters. It needs to not be forgotten. I mean, Terry talks about the numbers we put in terms of economic output, the numbers we put in terms of taxes that we send to Albany, and never getting our fair share. And so we need a team of fighters here on Long Island, and these folks are the are the real deal. So let's just give them all a round of applause to welcome in 2024. And Ed, we were talking a little bit before, and I want to just sort of get your take on, driving here. The world is nuts right now, right? It's nuts. I mean, we bombed Yemen, there's a migrant crisis, COVID's resurging. Ukraine, there's a former president indicted, a sitting president's son indicted. I mean, it's a nutty world. And so, I drive, and I was wondering as I'm coming here this morning, I'm like, so what is the county executive, like, what does he think when he wakes up in the morning and listens to this and realizes he's got to go lead, several million people and a GDP stronger than a lot of states in the United States? How do you process all that, and how does that impact your day-to-day?
For the most part, my focus tends to be totally local. My job is to lead this county. There are other things happening in the environment that we have to take notice of, but quite frankly, my focus has to be on Suffolk, first, last, and always. There's a lot of things going on, and when you turn to Suffolk, you turn to this innovation park, this park of 1,400 acres, this park of 1,300 businesses, this park that reaches out to the business community, this park that almost provides 5% of the jobs that are retained and grown in this region that we call Long Island. And then you focus on that. And while the world may be falling apart outside of us, if we don't look inward first and fix our situation, we're not going to be surviving. I know as a percentage of population, this state has lost more population than any other state in the United States. That is not true, however, for Long Island, because we have retained population here. And we have to do the types of things that grows our economy, which is why one of the focuses that I am going to put on is helping my good friend, because as you know, two Eds are always better than one. Helping my friend and helping this park grow their sewage treatment plants capacity so that we can do mixed use, so that we can do housing, hopefully some of it affordable or workforce housing, and make it part of this park. That is a vision that commands my attention. So while the world may be falling apart elsewhere, and while other localities may have other problems, such as our neighbor to the west, the big city to the west, we're going to focus on making us a fortress of economic strength, a fortress of job creation, job retention, a fortress where we become the economic engine, or one of the big economic engines for this state. This used to be the Empire State. It can be again. And unlike some of my other colleagues, I believe in working across party lines. I believe in working because the elections are over. It's time to work with everyone. It's time to get down to business. I told the governor she's welcome to come to Suffolk. I just want to make that known. And I will tell you what that means. That means when I'm standing in 3 inches of water over Ocean Bay Park, the governor is calling me to see how she can help with what's happening on Fire Island and on the South Shore, and to those from the South Shore of the island. We got hit pretty hard for the storm. Because in this life, the key to success is having good partners. Partners with our townships, partners with our county legislature, partners with our state government, and partners with our federal government. So yeah, a lot of bad things are happening in the world. It's our job to focus on our hometown first. You start small and you grow from here. We should be the model of what a good business community is about. We have a lot of shortcomings. We need more workforce housing. There is no question about that. We need better public transportation. No question about that. And we are working with bus routes in this park to make it more, credit to my predecessor. We need sewage treatment plants. We need sewers and IA systems so we don't continue to pollute our bays and our sound and our streams. And we have a lot of things that we need to focus in on. I have a long laundry list. I only look at it one line at a time because I don't want to get too discouraged. But let me tell you, we are all in this together. This is our island. I grew up here. I've watched this island change. We get to create the future. And right now, I'm just going to ask one question. How many people served on my transition team? Raise your hands, please. Look around the room. There's a number of them. I'm going to ask that that document get printed up. These people did a yeoman's job, tremendous job. And what that document is, not everything is going to be done in that document, but that document is a blueprint for the future of this county. The people that worked so hard on that transition team have my thanks and appreciation, and that will be published, because I think the people should know what some of the leaders, and we couldn't put everyone on, I think we had 50 or 60 people on the transition team, but it was a group of extremely talented people that were very focused. Because what we need, working with this Innovation Park, we need a blueprint for the future of this county that we're all engaged in, that we all know where we're going, and we know how to get there, and we all work to get there. Work with our local town officials, village officials, county officials, state and federal, and have an agenda for progress, which we need more than ever. Everyone's talking that our best days are behind us. Nonsense. The best days for this county are ahead of us. They are ahead of us, and it is in our hands that we find this. We will find a way. And I'm looking around the room, and I'm looking at a heck of a lot of talent out here, some of which served on the transition team. But this room, the collective talent in this room, we should be able to drive this island forward with no problem at all, despite what's happening at the state level, the federal level, or the world. And our focus has to be on building a better Suffolk and working with our neighbors in Nassau. I'm not going to say the city because I know he has some visitors that he wants me to take, which I'm not sure we're up to that challenge yet. But I do want to work as a region. We need to cooperate as a region. So I'm not going to try to compete against Nassau. I'm going to try to work with Nassau. They're our allies. We're Long Island, and we're island strong.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Ed. You know, this is you're now the third county executive that we've had as part of our panel. First Republican, but third county executive. And you know, it's just great to see and hear how the dialogue over the last 15 years that we've been having, it really has shifted where everybody realizes that Suffolk County is an economic powerhouse now and really can drive the region and the nation forward. And it's just great to hear you getting that and understanding that and championing that from the top down. That's super important, I think, super important for the business community here to hear. Mr. Wareheim, so some people may not know this, but Ed is a highly decorated Vietnam vet, and I am very, very proud of that fact. So he knows something about the world going to shit, right? At that point, right? He knows something. So here you are, fast forward it now, right? And the world is crazy, and you're running an incredibly successful town. What are your macro thoughts on 2024, and how does that guide your leadership of the town?
Well, thank you, Joe, and thank you for the invite here, and it's a pleasure to be here with John and certainly our new county executive, Ed Romaine. So, You know, when I get up every morning, to get to your point about how crazy the world is, what I do every morning is say a prayer for civility. When I came in this morning to this room, everybody in here was civil, saying good morning. So this is an example of how the whole world should be. So I would hope that at some point that happens. I don't know if it will, but I hope it will. But this is a perfect example of how everyone can work together, work across party lines. I'm proud that I have done that in the past, and I've been successful with that. So that's my hope. I said that very prayer this morning, and I'm going to continue to do it because I do have kind of a positive attitude. In 2018, when we took office, many of the things that we have accomplished, we were told will never happen, and we proved them wrong. I'm very excited now to be able to work with our new county executive, Ed Romaine, because as fellow supervisors, we have a great understanding about what's needed. I think everyone in this room knows that this innovation park, when we partnered with HIALI, is extremely important, not only to the county and the state and the country for that matter, but it's also vitally important to the town of Smithtown and the town of Islip. It is a huge tax generator. So we went all in. We will continue that support and have already had conversations with County Executive Romaine about what we need to move forward. We did an overlay zone of 13 properties in this park, 7 acres plus, and changed the zone to a mixed use to be able to put affordable housing, work, play, and recreate right here in this park. The only obstacle was sewer capacity. And County Executive and I will work diligently together to make sure that that capacity is achieved expeditiously. And then we will begin to bring contractors in and developers that want to do that. We do have an interested party right here on Motor Parkway that's already looking at some housing. We believe that that is vital to the success of the Innovation Park, and we will continue to work on that as we move forward. If you move into the town of Smithtown, infrastructure is the most important issue. And we have spoken, I see Stevens Martinez is here, we have indicated that to the governor, that we're not reluctant here in Suffolk County or Long Island to affordable housing, but we need the infrastructure, specifically on the North Shore, because it doesn't exist here. So we're very proud. We have 3 business districts. All 3 business districts in Smithtown have a Long Island Railroad station in them. And I would hope that the county executive continues his push, which I know he will, via transportation to electrify the line, because that's going to be vital in the future. And I know that Ed has been a huge component of that. So I'll be very anxious to work with him on anything we can do to make that happen. So St. James Business District, sewer mains are in. The county is in the process of upgrading a plant on Merchants Road, and that will be hooked up, complete. Kings Park is underway as we speak. I can tell you that categorically because my phone rings about all the construction, and all the folks in this room know what that's all about. It's crazy, but you know, construction's a messy business. But when it's done, Kings Park will be sewered. It's planned to be completed end of 2025. And then we're going to be working with everybody that we can, county, state, federal, about $80 to $90 million necessary to add to the $30 million we have to put sewer mains through the township of Smithtown proper. If we accomplish that, and I will tell you today that I will work diligently with all of my colleagues to make sure it does happen, we will have all 3 business districts sewered, and then we can start some real multi-use development, economic growth in all 3 business districts where we have a railroad. So this park is important. It is one of our main priorities, and we will continue to work with HIALI. We met with Orbic and Mike Narullo. I had lunch with him about a week ago, who is bringing, he purchased 3 buildings in this innovation park. He has his architect have applications in to begin renovations on the first building. Excuse me. We will expedite those applications. excuse me, and what Mike and Orbic is doing, for the first time, in the first company I'm aware of, right here in this park, are going to be manufacturing on site electronic devices like cell phones, iPads, electric bikes. This is a super great initiative right here in this innovation park. Rather than have these products built in China, they'll be built right here. They'll employ estimated 1,000 employees, so we are super excited about that. Great initiative, and we're going to continue to work hard to make sure that we bring that to fruition.
Thanks, Ed. So, something folks should know about Ed Wareheim is before he became town supervisor, he met with Terry, myself, and the board of HILI, and he said, we'll be partners. We'll be partners as long as I'm town supervisor. And he is tried and true been a really good partner to us, and we appreciate that tremendously. We really do. And I think one of the real benefits the new county executive has is just the strength of our town supervisors, right, that he gets to work with. And in the town of Islip, that's absolutely true with Angie Carpenter, and I want to publicly congratulate Angie, even though she couldn't be with us. I want to congratulate her publicly on her victory. I think you know, the powerhouses of Romaine, Wareheim, and Carpenter make good things for our park on the horizon. That's for sure. Yes, absolutely. But the park itself, and John's here for the town of Islip. The park itself, you know, it wasn't until probably 2 or 3 years ago that Islip really started getting engaged with us from the park's perspective, and John and Angie had a lot to do with that. And John, talk about like what you see for this year in terms of priorities and in terms of the park, and how you think about it when you get up every day.
Thanks, Joe. I'll just start by introducing myself for people that might not know who I am. John Walzer, I'm the Director of Economic Development for the town of Islip, filling in for Angie Carpenter this morning who couldn't make it. So a big part of my role as Director of Economic Development is my role as the Executive Director of the Town of Islip IDA and our local development corporation. I've been with the town for about 10 years, and it's been a very interesting 10 years. There's been a lot of changes, and the Islip IDA is one of 8 IDAs on Long Island. I'm a big believer in economic development. I think that the work that we do is very important. Congratulations. It's great to be on the stage, by the way, with these gentlemen, and Joe and Terry and the rest of the HIA. Commend you for the work that you guys do. About 25% of the park is in the town of Islip. So I'm always very happy to be supportive of you guys. I've worked with a number of businesses within the park. I think, you know, you guys have a great vision. I think anything that I can do to be supportive, work with, or try to grow our manufacturing base here on Long Island, to retain jobs, to attract businesses from other areas. I think the future of Suffolk County is very bright for a number of reasons, but I'll just leave it at that.
Thanks, John, and thanks for being here today. We appreciate that. Just an FYI, at 9:45, the Lieutenant Governor is going to be joining us by Zoom to give some remarks. So if we're in the middle and I get the nod, I'm just going to give you guys a sign that we have to take a break for that. So, Mr. County Executive, I understand having an overwhelming to-do list. I think everybody does, and I'm sure yours is. But let's get to it. Like top 3. What are the top 3 things that you want to make sure you accomplish this year?
Top 3 things is make sure we have a referendum on clean water, so the voters have a choice. And I've talked to legislative leaders and, of course, our presiding officer, Kevin McCaffrey, to environmental leaders and labor leaders, and we all seem to be on the same page, and we're moving that. and they've asked for the referendum to be in November because that way they get a large turnout and they're hoping to get support. So that would be the first thing. Clean water is really something we have to work on. I think the second thing is to ensure the financial stability of the county. Now, everyone says we're in good shape. Okay? Which is great. And a lot of that good shape is due to the pandemic and to the federal government. In 2019, the comptroller of this state, a good friend of Long Island, judged the 62 counties in terms of the financial viability. Suffolk placed 61st. So it was the pandemic aid that lifted this county up. And that aid is obviously not there any longer. So although we look on paper to be good, I know that all issues of government are issues of money. The focus has to be on that. I want to make sure that we, whenever possible, reduce our debt. Whatever our overall debt limit is, I want to make sure that we look at the monies that we have and look for ways to make this county more affordable. You all run a business. Government is dipping into your pockets every day. It makes it difficult to run a business. So some of the things I've suggested is, wow, we actually tax home heating fuel. Wow, we put a tax on your LIPA bill. We put a tax on propane and natural gas. Maybe we can take a look, and that was in the budget of my predecessor when I put my budget out in September, of lessening that burden. Because that would not only help residents, it would help businesses too. We have to be more affordable in this. We can't be looking to nickel and dime. I'm looking to revise our traffic court. I know we have a lawsuit that I have to defend because I can't pay back hundreds of millions, but I have to tell you, when I submit my budget, which is in September, I'm going to take a look at our traffic court. We're looking to make some revisions there in the way they conduct business, so it's more about justice instead of revenue collection. I'm looking to see what we can do for workforce housing. That's very important, and that's why I'm going to work with Ed on the sewers here and in other places, because it's important that every town provide housing for some of our workforce, which right now it's very difficult. I'm looking at our traffic. Right now, the last landfill on this island, which takes only ash and construction debris, and pretty soon only ash, is Brookhaven. You know how the rest of the garbage gets out? Truck. You know how we get most of our products? Truck. You wonder why the roads are so crowded? Rail moves 1% of the freight on Long Island. Everywhere else in the United States, it moves 20% of the freight. So yeah, I don't want to go on, but I've got to tell you, you try to look at the overall agenda and how you can change things, how you can make Long Island more affordable, how you can make businesses more competitive, how you can do the things that are going to make a difference. So there are a long list of things that I get hit up, including storm damage, and I spent the last 3 days driving around this county looking at storm damage. And it's amazing, all the way from Shinnecock, all the way west. And there always will be emergencies that come up, but we can't forget the big picture. So I'm going to focus on improving transportation, water quality, development, workforce housing. And by transportation, we can build a better bus system than we have. More importantly, I used to be supervisor at Brookhaven. We have 3 rail lines that move this county. None of them are electrified. Electrification stops at Babylon. Electrification stops at Huntington. And on the main line, the one that was built in 1844, our first railroad, that stops at Ronkonkoma. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And then you say, wow, how much money do we send to Albany? How much money do we give the MTA? How much money do we give the federal government? I am very hopeful, as a supporter of President Biden's infrastructure plan, that we get some of that money. And it uses that money to transform this island with electrification. I was very supportive of the governor's plan for environmental bond, $4.1 billion. I'm hopeful we get some of that money. Our sewers, our IA systems, our water treatment, particularly with emerging contaminants all over the place and people not being able to drink water. And we're going to have to deal with that. We're going to have to come up with a fund to help people extend water mains. You know how expensive water mains are? And there's a lot of people on well water in this county that are drinking water that they shouldn't be drinking. So yeah, we've got a lot of work to do. And it's part of my job, and I hate to use the term, but I've got to shake the money tree. Because we haven't seen our fair share. And this is not a knock on the governor or the president or anyone else. This is a report that comes from the Long Island Regional Planning Council, which I served on for 5 years. And they said, we're getting shortchanged. Well, that's okay if we're flush. But it's not okay if you have the type of issues and problems that you know if the investment is made, this island could take off. This island could take off. Imagine electrified rail. And it's not that hard. Just look at the main line. It stops at Ronkonkoma. Go 10, 12 miles. Go to Brookhaven National Lab. Imagine what would happen if that was done. Imagine if it was happening from Huntington to Port Jefferson. And we have a rail yard for them that they're getting at cheap. How much, Sarah, are we? $10. Hey, we're giving them a rail yard. How much more could we give you, MTA? How much more do you want to dip into our pockets? Help us out. But that's what we have to do. We have to fight for the future of this island because we know what we need. We need better public transportation. We need electrified rail. We need clean water. We need sewers. We need better transportation. And I thank the governor. Because if you remember, before she got involved in the issue, and I do want to give her some credit for this, remember driving on the Long Island Expressway about 2-3 years ago? That was pothole city. It was pothole city. She made that a priority. We need more priorities from our state and federal government because we will help drive this economy for you. This is an island of extremely talented people. Give us the tools, we'll get the job done. So that's my message. My message is to try to get the tools so that everyone here can be successful and prosper, and our families can live a good life.
Thanks, Ed. And it's interesting because from a business perspective, every business now post-COVID is struggling with the same thing. Like, what is my real number? Because how much of the incentives during COVID inflated it, changed it, everybody's struggling with it. And it's interesting to think that you are struggling with the same thing as well at the governmental level, because it's clearly we can all relate to that in our own worlds. Mr. Wareheim, your top 3 priorities as you're coming into 2024 would be?
Well, of course, the Innovation Park, as we discussed before, is a top priority for, for Smithtown. The infrastructure, as Ed said, in the 3 business districts. I will go a bit further. A third priority for us is Parks and Recreation, because you don't hear much about that, but that's why people move here. That's why people move to the suburbs. So, well, I'm a little bit biased, Ed. Yes, I am. But I will tell you, since 2018 taking office, we are at about $125 million in capital improvements. 80 million of that went into parks and recreation facilities. So we are going to continue on that path to improve the rest of our facilities as well. I'd like to just also touch on what Ed said about rail. I believe there are 3 proposals for rail. We have 1 in Smithtown. of course, it is meeting with massive opposition to the folks around it. But as Ed said, many of you probably traveled here today on the Long Island Expressway. A very conservative estimate by experts, if in fact we begin to truck ash, C&D material, construction material off this island, conservative estimate is 55,000 tractor trailers a year on the Long Island Expressway. So minimum. So you can see the dilemma that's going to cause. So I believe one of our priorities is to make sure that that rail to move material off Long Island and commodities on Long Island has to be done, even over the opposition by people that may surround those particular areas. So we're working on that. And one other issue that will be a priority for me that I've started to speak about is the 2% mandated tax cap. It's getting impossible to be able to run a local municipal government and keep under that cap, specifically because, like all of our folks here this morning, you run government, and Ed knows this, John knows it, Angie knows it, Joe, you know it. You have to run government in modern times like a business. It truly is. It's not like it was 30 years ago. It's totally different, has to be run like a business. The 2% cap, we need to work on it because we get unfunded mandates. We have union contracts with employees. We have increases approved on health care. We have increases improved on pension contribution. And they're all melded into the cap, and it's impossible. So for an example, in 2022, proposals put in by my departments in Smithtown, I had to cut $6 million. This year, I had to cut $9 million from their proposals. So somehow, we need to work with our state representatives to either adjust it so that it's a different cap for the school districts. And one of the difference between municipalities and school districts, they get massive state aid. We do not. We get CHIPS money to do some roads. So that's going to become a huge project that we have to work on, because the only way to fix it on our end is to reduce employees and cut services. And I think that's regressive, that's going backwards, nobody wants to do it. And I think it's an issue that we all have to start working on, because there has to be a different formula, or the result will be, as I said, less employees, less services to the public.
Yep. It's again, like, I'll go back to, over the last 15 years and having these discussions and watching the discussion progress. One thing is, everybody forgets we're on an island. Like, everybody forgets we're on an island, the unique challenges and how important water and all these other issues and sewage is. And you guys are always paying the price for the past sins of poor planning that occurred here, really, in terms of that development. And balance sheet and P&L matter, right? In government, balance sheet and P&L matter. And, it's a huge part. And that's something the business community really, for years, had been saying, well, why aren't elected officials understanding that they're running a business? And to have you guys here saying, hey, we're running a business, it's very refreshing for the business community to hear that discussion going on. John, the town of Islip, what do you think the top 3 priorities are there?
Well, I may surprise some people to hear this, but I think something that we haven't touched on yet, something very important for economic development, is public safety. When I see major retailers pulling out of areas in the city, for example, to me that's the opposite of economic development. Long Island has always been considered to be a very safe place to live, and I think it's very important that we maintain that impression in reality. We had some very high-profile incidents with MS-13 a number of years ago in the town of Islip, and I met with companies who wanted to talk about that, and they were concerned about moving in or making an investment here, and they're concerned about their employees. So I think public safety, I think everyone would agree, and I think even the governor definitely touched on that the other day. That public safety is an important issue. Energy. Talked about that. We live in a high-cost state, in a high-cost region of a high-cost state. And, modern society needs, for lack of a better word, cheap, reliable electricity and energy in general. I worry a little bit about the aggressiveness the state is taking to transition. I think, I'm not sure what we're doing is going to result in affordable or reliable, energy if we move too fast. So that concerns me as well. And then, again, infrastructure, like Ed mentioned, we're going to do housing and so forth. We need to have, the sewers. We need to have the water. In the town of Islip, I've been involved in a couple of projects I think that we considered regionally significant, in Bay Shore, with the Shore Gate, Terry mentioned it earlier, in Central Islip, the Belmont at Eastview. These are large projects, and the reason we'll be able to do it, because those areas in particular have sewers. Other areas, you can't have that kind of, mixed-use development and so forth unless you have that in place. So that's, if we're going to get help, I believe, from, the state, for example, help with that, and then the rest will follow.
Let's talk 1 second about the airport, right? So it's super important resource. It's incredibly important. I know everybody in this audience is curious and hopeful that the airport is recovering well, doing well. How did it do in 2023, and where do you guys see that going in 2024?
Yeah, the airport. Everyone loves Islip Airport, right? If you can fly in and out of there, you do it. It's challenging to attract airlines. I'm not directly involved, but I have an opportunity to be supportive of it through the IDA from time to time. I believe they had an increase in revenues and traffic coming in and out. Shelley and Rob do a great job of running the airport. And Angie is always very, very supportive of the airport and always trying to do anything she can to improve it. So they had a very good year. Breeze Airways is one of our new airlines that has introduced several new routes. Vero Beach is one that they just recently announced, which I believe is very successful right out of the gates. So they try these things a couple of days a week. I talked to the Commissioner Shelley the other day, and I think she said they expect that route, for example, to go to every day. So those are the types of things we like to see. And Midway Crossing project, is a huge, very ambitious project, but I think there's been some recent developments that make that a very realistic possibility to happen. And one part of that project is obviously to move the actual terminal to the north side, which would allow for true train to plane accessibility, and I think would be monumental in attracting other airlines and increasing the traffic. So airport's in good hands with Shelley and Rob, and they had a good year, and it's looking good.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and we're gonna have during this year at HIA, we're gonna have just a Town of Islip focus thing that's gonna dig deeper into the airport. But really, from Angie's perspective and the town's perspective, what a great comeback success story, turning that thing around and really making it profitable, and it's just been great. So I just want to stay with finances and go back to the county executive. So as a resident of Brookhaven Town, one of the things I always appreciated was how seriously you took the bond rating and how important that was, and what a tight ship you ran in the town for the years that you were there. And looking at the county, and believe me, I am with you, I understand the challenges that the county is going to have going forward. What are your thoughts on how to, find new revenue sources, get the balance sheet straightened out, get the P&L for your first budget in order? What are you thinking? Because sales tax revenue and post-COVID and everything else is just a mess, right? Everything is unchartable. So how are you thinking about that approach as you go into your first year?
Well, the problem with the county, unlike the town, county is extremely dependent on sales tax. In the 1990s, when Mr. Gaffney was our county executive, we did very, very, very well in sales tax. So at that time, and we're going back to the 90s now, the property tax levy, and it's two property taxes, there's the county general, and then for the 5 western towns, there's the police district, which the 5 eastern towns do not pay. At that time, the property tax was about $160 million. He took it down to $50 million. Guess where it is today? $50 million. And you know why? Because you're sitting there in the county legislature, well, let's see, if I raise taxes by 10%, I only get $5 million, and I'll pay hell at the polls. So you haven't seen that. So that's why, and property tax is a much more stable tax collection than sales tax, because sales tax can go up and can go down. And if you wanted to see that yo-yo, go look at 2008 and 2009 and 2010 and 2011. Oh, whoop! Now, sales tax, however, today is doing well in Suffolk County. Whether it will do well tomorrow, I don't know. What you do if you plan for the future is, the first thing you try to do is to pay down debt, which bonding agencies love. The other thing you try to do is PAYGO, which is for the small capital projects. And I remember sitting in the legislature, and I think it was Levy administration, they were bonding out $4,000 for the airport. I was like, what? I mean, I was screaming and yelling about that. There has to be a threshold. So the smaller projects should not be bonded out. It should be PAYGO, pay as you go. And the other thing, which the county has done, and I'm going to work with the legislature to do, is you all know what your expenses are from looking at previous years. You try to set up reserve funds as much as the state government will allow you to put in reserve for future anticipated expenses. Those are the things that rating agencies will look at. Look, when I supervised at Brookhaven, we did not have a AAA bond rating. But within 2 years of taking office, we did. And we maintained that to this day, a AAA bond rating. And that saved the taxpayers a lot of money. I'm not going to be able to say I could do that tomorrow, but maybe by the end of my tenure, we will have the County of Suffolk at a AAA bond rating. And people don't understand, the bond rating is very crucial to your financial success. And it's one of the things that businesses look when they move into a community. They don't want to move into a community that's economically hard-pressed. So I am going to try to raise the bond rating of this county. And I would not be surprised, looking at the books, if sometime this spring, which ends at the end of third week in June, that we get a bond upgrading. Because I am going to put actions into place to upgrade our bond. In terms of revenue, we are too dependent on sales tax. But politically, it's probably infeasible to move off that at this point, because we're not going to increase our property tax. But what I want to be careful of is how we collect the money. Right now, if you go to any of our parks or beaches in my town, in Brookhaven, you buy a sticker for 25 bucks. Well, you don't even have to buy the sticker anymore. You just register your license plate, because we have plate readers. We don't have kids collecting, you know, at the gate, you know, $2 for the town, $1 for me type of thing. We don't have any of that happening. And what we do is we have plate readers, and you register your plate, and it's 25 bucks for the year. You go well, to any park, any beach in Brookhaven town. If you don't want to do that, we put meters in. So people who just want to go for the day or a few hours, they can feed the meter. We're making more money this way. I'm going to look at that for the county, because I can't believe you're a family, you drive your car up and it's 16 bucks to go to Cupstock, which is at the end of Dune Road, or Smith Point. That should not be. The parks are for all of us. I want to expand park usage. And by the way, there's an advantage to that because we have vendors that we get a percentage who, concessionaires at these parks. So I'm looking to make this county more affordable. I want to be very careful about how we raise money, where we raise it from. I don't want it to be regressive. I am very concerned about a regressive tax because this is a county for everyone of all income levels, and we have to make it that way. So yes, I am worried about finances. It is the one lesson in government we should all know. All issues of government are issues of money. Tell me how you spend your money, tell me how you raise your money, and I'll tell you what type of government you have. So yes, I'm looking to revise all of those things to send a very clear message about Suffolk County, because it's in the money. You can talk about all the policy initiatives you want, but how you spend it, how you raise it, is going to determine the type of government you have.
That's a great point. So Ed, from a town perspective, I mean, you should be proud of your town and Smithtown and the finances there, but talk about like how you focus on the finances and how you are looking at the challenges. You talked about the tax cap being a challenge, so how are you focused that on a town level?
Well, let me tell you about the tax cap. I just was talking to Ed. You know what a family plan, health care plan under NYSHIP is costing? And by the way, we are looking at health care. Do you know what a family plan costs? $42,000 per employee. So you hire a laborer, someone starting out, you pay him $40,000. The contract says he's got to give 20% towards health care. That's $8,000. You wonder why you can't recruit or retain people? That's why. So we have health care costs. We are looking at health care. It is a major focus. And NYSHIP is the one that the townships deal with. And school districts, I think, also deal with. We're looking at other providers, because there are other providers out there. And some of the new providers that are jumping in besides Aetna and Blue Cross Blue Shield is Northwell. So we're going to be very, very careful. We have an employee health plan in Suffolk County. We're going to be very careful about how we spend our health care dollars. That's important. We want to make sure our employees are well covered. But should we have to pay $42,000 for a family plan? I don't know what you pay. What do you pay, Joe?
Too much.
Yeah, too much. You don't want to give out that information. And then we have pension costs and a whole host of other things. Yes, that's the price of doing business. But you know what the price of not doing business is that worries me? Unfunded mandates. Now, I only want to say good things about the governor because she is our partner. And I heard her State of the State, and she was very kind to me. She let me sit in the Assembly chamber and listen. And she had a lot of great ideas. But every idea that she ticked off, you know what I thought about? The cost. And then I said, wow, what about the elephant in the room that no one talked about? The state is facing a $4 to $5 billion deficit. And while it's great to do new things, and it's inspirational, I don't believe in spending money you don't have. I just have a very different view of life. I know that government spending sometimes can charge up an economy and stuff like that, and there's a point for that. But I'm concerned about large deficits. And that relates to my concern about unfunded mandates, that one way to pay for unfunded mandates is to pass it down and say, we think this is a great idea, but the towns and counties should fund this. And I want to make sure that doesn't happen. If the state thinks it's a great idea, fund it. Don't send it to us. Don't send it to the counties. Don't send it to the towns. Fund it. Fund it there in Albany. Dip into your budget and fund it. Don't put it on my budget. So I would tell you that, and I would say one other thing. If you're looking to spend any money, and I see my good friend from the contractors there, every economist will tell you an investment in infrastructure will produce the greatest benefit and drive an economy and improve productivity. So as you're looking at all your investments, think about infrastructure because it has a tremendous benefit economically in the way things run.
Great, thanks. Mr. Wareheim, I want you to talk about the town of Smithtown and how you run your business hat. Just mindful, I might have to stop you if the Lieutenant Governor pops on the screen, but let's have that.
Okay, so as I said before, we have to run government like a business. We in Smithtown are running a $130 million corporation. That's really what it is. We are fiscally healthy. We have no, we've been designated as no fiscal risk by the state comptroller since I've been in office. We have a AAA bond rating since I've been in office in 2018 and still retain that. We believe we will have a AAA bond rating coming up this year as well. And as Ed said, that's extremely important. The reason it's important is when we go to borrow money, you're borrowing at a much lesser rate. Much of the $125 million that we've borrowed since 2018 was borrowed at about 1.1%. Now, that's over now, but that was just about free money, which saves the taxpayers. What we've also done is we have put twice early incentives out for senior employees. Many of them took advantage of that, and in the end, it saved about $1.8 million because senior employees at the higher level left service, and we bring entry-level people in at much less of a salary, so that saved money. I'm fortunate to have government liaison and Councilman Tom Lohman sitting over there, who I will tell you is a complete fiscal hawk. So he takes care of issues down on the town council with spending. He's probably a little worse than I am, but I applaud him for what he does. So we have a number of issues in place where we save the taxpayers money, but I'll go back to the adjustment for the cap would be extremely helpful, so we don't have to raise taxes out of control.
So just explain that so if people don't understand the issue, Ed, they understand.
So we have to stay under, this year, this budget this year, we had to stay under the tax cap, which for Smithtown was 1.9%. So we could not raise taxes more than 1.9%.
And that's state mandated.
That's state mandated, that's correct. The problem with that, as I said, when you have your departments bring their budgets in, and of course we vet them diligently, so they're always going to ask for more. We understand that, okay? But I had to cut this year $9 million from their proposals. And the only way to do that is employees, which are the most cost to any municipality, or any business for that matter. And then you have to cut services if you don't have the employees. So that cap is mandated, and what makes it more difficult is then at a state level, they approve increases in healthcare coverage for employees. As Ed said, our employees now in a family plan are $42,000 a year. Single is somewhere around 31 or 32 for a single payer. So that's added to the cap. Then pension costs that we contribute to the state of New York for our employee pensions go up as well. So those unfunded mandates, which we call them, come down, and that is calculated into the tax cap, which allows us to have to spend more money to do that, takes more money out of what we use to run the corporation.
That's great. So I do want to take a break. We have the Lieutenant Governor, Antonio Delgado, on video now. And the first time I got to talk to our Lieutenant Governor and hear him speak was at LICA's annual meeting. And I thought he was terrific. I really do think he is terrific. And I think you're in for a treat to hear from our Lieutenant Governor. There he is on the screen now. So we want to welcome our Lieutenant Governor to HIA-LI's annual meeting.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the opportunity to connect with all of you this morning. I apologize for not being able to be there in person. Certainly want to make sure I continue to build with HIA-LI and do all that we can to empower our communities on Long Island. I want to acknowledge the president and CEO, Terry Alessi Maselli. Certainly want to acknowledge the board of directors, my colleagues in government, County Exec Ed Romaine. I know that there's been a recent storm that's affected the residents in Suffolk County, and I know our administration has partnered with the county to address this damage. We will continue to be a partnership and rebuild the infrastructure, and I certainly want to thank the county exec for your leadership. I just want to touch briefly on some of the big themes that the governor and I are thinking through as we begin 2024. And start just on a personal note. I got into public service because I really just want to make sure that all working people and all working families have a chance to achieve upward mobility. I want our children, I'm a father, 10-year-old boys. I want them to be better off than me. And I want all of our children to be better off than their parents and grandparents. And I think we all can acknowledge that for, a bit of time, the trend lines there, are not guaranteed. We got to right that ship. I grew up in a working class family in Schenectady. My parents worked for General Electric and had real reliable jobs they could be secure in. And I feel like the more security we can create for our families, the more opportunity we can provide as well. So this is my perspective coming in as a partner with the governor. And I know this is also the perspective of the governor. Our administration is committed to doing this work. And we also know that to do it the right and sensible way, it cannot be a top-down approach. We must connect with stakeholders on the ground, orgs like HIA-LI that are embedded in the business community and doing the heavy lifting of creating opportunities for economic development. I've always appreciated that it takes real public-private partnerships across different levels of government and private sectors. This is how you maximize innovation and economic growth. All hands on deck. There is no one size that fits all. This was certainly my mentality back in Congress. My district had over 27,000 small businesses, including self-employed, and I was an active member of the Small Business Committee. I was honored to lead a bipartisan, locally based advisory committee made up of small business owners and a number of chamber reps from all 11 of the counties in my district. And I made it a real habit to listen to every single one of those folks on a frequent basis. And in fact, they informed a lot of my legislation. And as you can imagine, during COVID, it was very, very important to stay connected to the business community and our small business owners throughout those very challenging times. Now, as the chair of the REDCs, I hope to bring that same approach and have been since in office. And the governor has stressed in her State of the State that the administration is certainly focused on making sure that our communities across New York are safer, more affordable, and are provided better economic opportunities. This is certainly includes communities on Long Island. Just before the new year, the governor announced that Long Island was one of the 3 regional winners for round 13 of the 30 million REDC challenge competition. The Long Island Regional Economic Development Council's proposed Long Island Forward program will address shortage of residential housing on Long Island by encouraging municipalities to create shovel-ready sites through targeted incentives. Through this effort, Long Island communities will attract more talent, retain talent, and allow folks, especially young people, to raise their families on Long Island. With an eye towards strengthening New York's economy, the governor also committed in her State of the State to a $100 million expansion of the FAST NY program to prepare sites to be shovel ready. As manufacturers and supply chain partners are reshoring operations to the United States in record numbers, expanding FAST New York will help to maintain New York's advantage in the national competition for high impact job creation projects. We all understand how challenging recent years have been for families and businesses with rising costs and a lack of housing opportunities. We believe that this type of effort will help Long Island's business community, both small businesses and major employers, to grow. Long Island is home to over 7 million people and thousands of businesses. Our administration and our state understand how important economic development and growth are on Long Island, and we are committed to working with our partners to ensure it remains a business and residential hub for our state. This is something that, again, as we go into 2024, we take very seriously, and we do so understanding that it does indeed take real partnerships at every level, and making sure that we do this work in a collaborative, cooperative fashion. And I think the more we can be about the business of that type of energy and that type of collaboration, the better off all communities will be. So I just want to say, again, thank you for having me this morning, and I certainly look forward to connecting with each and every one of you in the future. All the best.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
John, I want to talk about commercial real estate for a minute and IDA and the challenges that commercial real estate has post-COVID and sort of where you see your economic development cap in the town of Islip and IDAs in general, and how are we handling that challenge here in the town and on Long Island in your view?
Thank you. I'd just like to hit on the finances real quick. Town of Islip also has a AAA bond rating. Shout out to Angie Carpenter, who early on in her first term actually had the rating agencies in, drove them all around the town, showed them all of our town assets, the airport, our 30 planned industrial parks, and we were able to get the whatever we were up to AAA. And she also understands that you need to, and she's very supportive of what I do. Especially, she's Islip's a little unique. She's the chairman of the IDA board as well, but she understands that you need to be business friendly. You need to grow the base. What was the question?
Commercial real estate.
Yeah. So, it's been an interesting 10 years, as I said earlier. We've had it started, but when I first started, we would see a natural progression of businesses coming west to east. If you remember at the time, many of the industrial areas in the city, say Long Island City and Brooklyn, were getting revitalized or gentrified, if you will, and prices were going through the roof. And these companies that were either owned property or were leasing property were getting maybe priced out, and they looked out here to relocate and expand, or they looked to the other side of the river. They could go to New Jersey, which was rolling out the red carpet for them. So, with the IDA, like you said, this is a high-cost area. So what I can do is try to level the playing field to some of these, low-cost states. We got to do what we can to keep our businesses here, help them grow or attract. So when a company will come in to make a capital investment, bring jobs, grow the jobs, we can provide some assistance through the IDA with a various tax breaks, and very often you're talking about an increase in the assessed value. So instead of being hit with that higher taxes as a result of the higher assessment, you get able to gradually work that in over, let's say, maybe 10 years. And you do that in exchange for the capital investment, the job creation, the economic activity that surrounds those projects. But since COVID, during COVID, what really drove the market was the interest in warehouse and distribution. I mean, everyone stayed home and was you know, ordering everything online, and you know, the amount of you know, online purchases just went through the roof. So the demand for you know, that type of industrial space, you know, was really just driving the market. So, you know, involved in a number of projects in that space. So, you know, those are getting built out. There's a lot, you know, I've done quite a few deals, and in Brookhaven as well, I know, and probably in Smithtown. You know, people worry about the amount of you know, just warehouse spaces being built, but you know, I think, you know, in the economy of the future, you know, it's just something that's going to be needed. So that's really an infrastructure for the economy as well, just having that type of space there. Also, you know, we're involved in, you know, as I said, a number of housing projects, and now I'm starting to see energy projects, for example, battery storage. You know, that's another issue that is controversial, because you know, the fire safety concerns are just, the answers aren't there yet. So I think we're taking a sort of a wait, just sort of a moratorium type of stance at this point, just until those concerns get answered, before we can move ahead with that.
Great. County Executive, Ed, you know, commercial real estate has had its challenges. Food industry has had its challenges. We see technology becoming more and more pervasive in the economy. You know, and just getting back to the fact that the county is so dependent on sales tax to a certain extent, like how do all those challenges lead to your thinking about what is the county going to look like? What is the economy? I mean, DoorDash, Uber Eats, all these things that are going on. Like, how are you factoring AI, all of these things going on? How are you factoring that in as you think about your first term getting here from there?
It's a changing economy. There is no question about it. Look, I served 11, 12 years as supervisor at Brookhaven Town. Right now, before our town, 6 million square feet of warehouses. Now, some of that's going to get built. Probably about 4 to 5 million square feet will get built. One of them, North Point, is building 2.5 million square feet at Brookhaven Rail Yards in Yapak. They're going to have trains either run next to the warehouse or through the warehouse. And they have huge development. You see it's underway. That means if I'm a Main Street business, I have a lot of competition, because rather than someone get in a car and drive to my little store, they can pick up a phone, and the next day or 2 days later, it's at their doorstep. So the economy is changing. We're in a time of economic dislocation, and we have to figure out how that works, and how we collect sales tax, more importantly, from all of these. That is a concern. Its impact on Main Street development. I don't know if Eric Alexander is here. I know he was here earlier, but we are forming a committee to take a look at the impact, because obviously the character of Main Street is going to change. These warehouses are going to have an impact on some of the stores that do business on our main streets. Main streets are important because they anchor our communities. And when you don't have a downtown commercial area, you just have strip development, you don't have the same feeling of a community that you do with a downtown. So we're very concerned about that. I'm concerned about the number of warehouses, and they are going up like crazy. And I'm talking about my town. But I think he made an excellent point. Geography is destiny. And by that I mean the commercial development that has swept is now hitting, and I've watched it during my tenure in Brookhaven. You're not going to see much on the East End. I see Ann is here from Southampton. How you doing, our legislator? But usually, there's very limited development. And I used to be the legislator years ago for Shelter Island, Southold, Riverhead, and Eastern Brookhaven. Once you hit the East End, you're not going to see a lot of commercial or large warehouse development. And they already have their own traffic problems. Ask people about the trade parade. But we see that development happening now because we still are relatively less expensive than the land to the west. So ISOP's done. And you'll see infill development there. Same thing in Smithtown. You'll see new development in Brookhaven for the next few years, and then it will end. And then the island's done. What we're going to be left with, we're going to have to make work. These warehouses are going up faster than you can drive the Long Island Expressway. You'll see it. But it means it's going to have an impact on our main streets. And I'm concerned about that, and it's going to obviously have an impact on transportation, because every one of these warehouses, you get hundreds of trucks pulling up to start the deliveries. So that's going to impact. So we look at all these impacts, and we have to figure out our way to the future. And government, we think we run the show, we don't. Private industry does. But it does have regulatory powers, and we have to take a careful look at that. And we have to take a careful look of planning for the future of our main streets, because they're going to change inevitably. And that's something that I am focused on. And if you think that sewers, which I'm going to help Smithtown with because they're working on it, if you think sewers are a big issue, there are big issues everywhere, including out east. The mayor of Southampton came up to me and said, Ed, can you help us with sewers in our downtown? So I understand that sewers are tied directly to economic development. That's why, and unfortunately the governor's representative left, I would say nice things, more nice things about the governor if I could get more money out of her. But that's why we need that infrastructure money, because that's not just infrastructure. It's not only clean water and treating our wastewater, but it's also spurring our economy. And we need that, particularly in our downtowns. If we don't anchor our downtowns, we're going to change in major ways. And I'm not a big fan of strip development along highways. I believe in concentrated commercial development where you actually do have downtowns and you have identities. And that's the one thing that I noticed. The pattern of development. We're an old county. We settled in 1640 in Southold and Southampton was our first settlements. But you go along the North Fork that I used to represent, you have a village, and then you have some farms and open space, and the next village. You had a pattern of development. Up west, it's just strip development along superhighways that happened in the 60s and 70s and 80s. We've got to think about the pattern of development. I happen to like the East End approach, maybe because my eyes gaze east from time to time, of development, because I think it makes more sense to have established communities with established downtowns and then spaces between one downtown and the next. So there's a lot. It's the pattern of development. It's the way this island's going to look. It's the economic development. It's where the jobs are. It's what our downtowns are going to do, and what are the warehouses going to do to our traffic patterns and to a whole host of other things.
It's a great point. So my commute takes me from Stony Brook. I got to get past the university on Nichols Road, and so I had to learn the traffic patterns of when the shifts change and when, so that I don't get stuck there. Then I go to Vets, and now the Amazon facility's there, and I got to dodge all the Amazon trucks, so I had to learn the shifts of when Amazon trucks are going to be pulling out to know. And it can mean a 20-minute difference in a commute if you don't and it is a changing traffic pattern based on these developments and on these roads, which is a really big challenge because we are so dependent still on a car here on Long Island without public transportation.
Thank God you're not a tradesman going out to the South Fork. Anyone that's gone out on the South Fork in the morning, that trade parade, you would think you're in the worst traffic jam that you've ever seen. And we are going to focus on improving County Road 39,
Yeah.
which is a mess.
No, it's true. I was going out to Southampton for dinner in that rainstorm the other night, and it was 4:30, and it was bumper to bumper coming the other way the whole way from Mauritius out, which was crazy.
In the morning.
Yeah, it's just crazy. So, Supervisor Wareheim, you've had a unique run since becoming town supervisor because it was pre-COVID, all those things, and we lived through it and all of the craziness, and now technology is dominant, and it is going to change the face of Smithtown and the businesses in Smithtown. So how have you been thinking about what that's going to look like?
So all of that is true. So what we've concentrated on in Smithtown is about 92% developed. So what we've taken initiative to do is take many of the sites that were vacant. For example, we had a 6th Avenue shopping center vacant for 25 years. It's now a Tesla dealership. We had a concrete manufacturing plant just in the middle, just outside the business district. 25 years closed down. That is now CarMax. They're moving in now. A hotel that was in Comac on the south side of Jericho Turnpike. Was there for years, became a den for drug dealing, things of that nature. That's now gone. There were 98 apartments there, and 98 additional apartments are already planned, and the application is in for those. So we've concentrated on developing these sites that were vacated or blighted. And then in the downtown business districts, as we expressed before, we have our first transit-oriented development, 70 rental units right across the street from Town Hall, 10,000 square feet of retail. There were 10 storefronts. Once the apartments were up, they're starting to rent them as we speak. And they're in contract with all 10 of those. So this downtown initiative is extremely important because if you put folks in housing in the business district, you have walkable downtowns, or theater, or restaurants, everything, the pubs, personal services such as salons and barbershops, things of that nature, insurance companies. They're going to locate in those downtown business districts, and they will thrive because these folks are not going to get in cars, they're going to walk. We have a 49-unit condominium that was built about 8 years ago now on Landing Avenue, which is probably a couple 100 feet north of Main Street. I know many of the folks who live in those condominiums. They rarely ever use their car. They walk to all their services, restaurants, and actually the railroad station to go points west out of there. Hardly ever use the car. So that's our initiative. We're going to, I'm confident we'll be successful in these 3 business districts. And I'm also pleased that you're seeing some mixed type of development right here in the Innovation Park. You just have a brand new recreation facility that is absolutely wonderful opening up. So you have some manufacturing, and yes, warehousing is a problem, but if we have our downtowns, walkable downtowns, and then mixed use in here in the Innovation Park, I think we're going to be wildly successful in the future.
Yeah, that's great. And we do have, just as a heads up, we do have something planned this year to make a big push on getting that mixed use inside the park moving, and we're going to need the towns and the county's help with that. So it's a big part of HIA's initiative this year as well.
Yeah, it's extremely important. We took the slings and arrows of making a zone change. We were sued. Fortunately, we won the lawsuit. Ironically, we were sued by the Hopog School District, and I thought they got paid and got their money from the state to teach. I don't know why they objected to putting housing here, but But we're in good shape, and we are prepared, along with you folks, to make that happen.
Yeah, and just a quick anecdote about that. So, Town of Smithtown had the first Zoom town board, I think, in the state to get this passed, and I was part of it. And the Hauppauge School District PTA were like texting each other, like, "Jump on the Zoom now and speak against it." It was the craziest experience in 30 years I've had at a zoning hearing, because it was complete chaos, right? It's COVID, lockdown, it's a Zoom call, the PTA's jumping on, we don't know where they're coming from, who's letting them on. It was absolutely an insane.
Largest hearing in the history of Smithtown. I think it lasted 3 hours. My special assistant, Nicole, took the initiative to stay on there and try and calm the waters. Didn't work very well, but it was an experience at best.
It was absolutely one of the craziest experiences I've had in my career. John, the town of Islip has some good downtowns brewing, right? So talk about those.
Sure, yeah, I'd agree with County Executive Romaine. Downtown USA is changed, We have, in the town of Islip, Bayshore, which is our largest commercial main street. And then, looking east, you have hamlets, smaller hamlets, and then probably the next biggest commercial district would be probably Patchogue in Brookhaven. But, what we've done in Bayshore is allow for, a real good amount of, mixed-use development. Housing all around, on and around the downtown corridor, and the reason for that is to put feet on the street to support the businesses along Main Street, and we have sure plenty of bars and restaurants, which are great, but we also have medical uses coming in. We have got hospitals on either side, with South Shore University, the old Southside Hospital. We've got Good Sam in West Islip. A lot of medical use going in. A lot of, other professional office uses moving into the area. I think they want to be in a vibrant downtown community. So, I really think, there's just a tremendous amount of investment and growth happening right now, but I think it will be a success story of what good downtown development looks like. And it's not for every hamlet, but for Bayshore and Islip, Patchogue and Brookhaven, it makes sense. Young people, for example, want to live in those areas. We've also, the town won a $10 million downtown revitalization initiative grant in Central Islip, and you're going to see a lot of investment there. It's taken a long time. Part of that project is sewering that 3/4 of a mile stretch, which is finally underway. The grant was for $10 million. We were able to put a small percentage of that toward the sewer, but we had to cobble together the rest of the money to get that done. But we're going to have a large, fairly large mixed-use development anchoring part of that area. Devin Kulka's involved in that project, and you're going to see, the sidewalks improved, and you're going to see, just for the fact that that area will get sewered, investment will come in, and you're going to see more uses, more wet uses, bars and restaurants, and you're going to see some mixed-use development as well.
Yeah, it's great. And County Executive Romaine, one of the good things is, for years and years and years, our discussion on this stage was about the need for sewers, and now the conversation is about that they're getting done finally, and we can move forward. So really yeoman's work for everybody in understanding the importance of sewers and how critical to Long Island's infrastructure that is. Last big topic I want to talk about is manufacturing jobs here on Long Island, and my good friend and board member Ann Shamunkel Moore had shared news with us that last May the Navy announced that Long Island was chosen for their talent pipeline program, which is a means to train the region's workforce to support the defense industry. And, you know, fiercely fighting for manufacturing jobs, she does, and I plan on talking, but I really am interested in understanding, I'll start with the county executive, you know, how are we going to make sure that we're supporting and retaining these 3,000 manufacturing companies that we have here on Long Island? Overwhelming number are located inside our innovation park.
By emphasizing the fact that that industry is critical. Manufacturing has always been on the decline on this island for the last 30 years, ever since Grumman kind of took off on us. We need a diversified economy. If we don't have a manufacturing sector that is strong, we're not as strong as an economy as we should be. So how do we do it? Well, one of the tools that we have is the IDA. And I know some people have been critical of IDAs. I'm not, because I understand the incentives that are needed, the tax reductions that come. You get an IDA inducement, you don't have to pay half of the sales tax. You don't have to pay half the mortgage tax. And you can put a pilot program, payment in lieu of taxes pilot program, in place where you can factor in over a period of 10 years or more, depending on the industry and the benefit, taxes, so that when they start off, these industries are not paying full boat. They're paying partial boat, and it builds up over the years, but it gives them an opportunity to grow, to expand, to prosper, and to do well. Manufacturing has to be, and should be, part of diversified economy, that we let it go to such an extent. And I'm happy to see that we have a representative of the United States Navy, give him a wave, Mr. Nugent, who is here, and we're going to be focusing on defense industries. We used to be, this is, you know, our defense industry, Grumman started here in a garage, okay? I think it was in Baldwin, if I'm not mistaken. Started in a garage and built a great company. And, you know, we're the inheritors of a different generation. A generation that fought a world war where a small company grew to a large company, and that large company was able to protect our... And then we moved on from there, where that large company was able to send a man to the moon. We've done great things. We need to do great things again. Part of the greatness of this country is in manufacturing. And manufacturing has to be part of a diversified economy. And working with our IDA, our local development corporation, other tax incentives to encourage that. Because it's not only the tax revenue that we look at, but it's the jobs that are created. Manufacturing, hopefully they get the correct contracts. Manufacturing tends to be a stable, good paying jobs that can support an economy such as ours.
Yeah, it's good to hear you say that, and we look forward to this year, Ed, working with you. I think the more you familiarize yourself and learn about the actual businesses in the park, the more amazed you're going to be, as I was, because so many of these manufacturers, these are manufacturers that Grumman left, but they were able to continue to support the industry by doing, things. And then, like, during COVID, they were able to pivot and produce PPE, and it's just so amazing the innovation that these manufacturers, who are the backbone of the economy, are. And we're super excited. We're going to be having an event this year to talk about how AI is going to impact the manufacturing industry and what that's going to look like. And so we really are super happy to have you, engaged with us in these discussions, because it's
AI to write my speech.
Yeah. Mr. Wareheim, town of Smithtown, 75% of the park is in your town. Large part of it is manufacturing. How do you view the manufacturing industry and how you can help support it over this coming year?
Well, I think, Joe, as everybody knows, the good work that you folks have done on HIALI has really brought manufacturing back. We have applications in for far more manufacturing going on in the Innovation Park than ever before. Our job is to make sure that these facilities, as they expand, and they are expanding to do manufacturing, get through the process, the zoning, the building codes, the building permits, et cetera, et cetera. So we've been working diligently with our building department, environment, and waterways to make sure that those applications, such as I referenced before, Orbit coming in, possibly 1,000 jobs within the next couple of years, high-tech jobs, high-paying jobs. They've got their application in for their first expansion. I think they purchased 3 buildings in the park. And we will do our part to expedite that expansion because that's what they need to be successful. If they're held up with expansion because of delays with the town of Smithtown departments that are involved in land use, then that becomes a problem. So you have our commitment. That will not happen. We will expeditiously process those permits so these manufacturing companies can thrive here in the Innovation Park.
That's great. And, you know, I want to mention, and it was good to hear county executive say that he understands and supports the work of IDAs because Suffolk County IDA has been such a strong partner of ours. And Kelly, I don't know if Kelly's here, but it's such a strong partner of the park, of HIA, and the fabric of Long Island as a whole. And it's important that that they have support and that they get recognized for the work that they've done. John, how about town of Islip and the manufacturing sector and what you're seeing there?
Sure, of course. My work at the IDA is, you know, the traditional work with the IDA is with the manufacturing sector. Whenever I have a meeting with a company that is thinking to move into Islip or is here and wants to make it a capital investment of some sort and expand, you know, obviously very welcoming to that to those things. I've worked with, you know, manufacturing isn't dead, you know, on Long Island. We don't have, Grumman did leave, but there are a lot of legacy companies that support, for example, the aerospace industry, still here. And, but it's also important to have a diverse manufacturing base, like Ed was saying. For example, you know, we have pharmaceutical companies. We have, you know, food manufacturing companies. I worked with Water Lilies in Bayshore. I was just met with a you know, commercial baker that actually gets their flour from the Brookhaven Rail Terminal. So, you know, we obviously manufacturing, always welcome it. Always, those jobs are usually higher paying. You know, the multiplier effect of having a manufacturing in our region is better than most industries. So, you know, we gotta support it any way we can.
Great. And the last question, I'm gonna stick with you, John. I'm gonna give the county executive the final word. But if you had a magic wand today, sitting there for economic development, what's the one thing that you would want to see happen this year?
I would say low-cost energy.
Great. Mr. Wareheim, magic wands?
I'd like to see us complete the entire infrastructure with the county executive's help. That will enable us to completely finish up our renovations in the downtown 3 business districts. And hopefully, as I started this off, not just here in Suffolk or on the island, but throughout the entire country, civility comes back to us so that we can be a civil society, work together, and make great things happen right here on Long Island.
Thank you. And I'll give the county executive the final word.
Well, I'm going to cheat and do 3 things. Electrification of the rail, very critical. Electrification of the rail. Low-cost power. We all need to plug in, whether it be our homes, our businesses, our industry. If power becomes too expensive, we price ourselves out of the market. And the third thing that I would say is that we consider everyone at every income level, and we help those that need the help the most. And I know that you work very closely with people that help people that are facing some difficult times. All of us, at some point in our lives, face challenges. If we can have a system that's compassionate enough to reach out to help those in their time of need. So 3 things.
Great. Thank you all for joining us today. Really, and congratulations again, Ed. Enjoy your honeymoon period. It's short-lived, I'm sure.
I'm sure they're throwing bombs already.
And I'll turn it back to Terry.
Thank you. So let's give them another round of applause. We are fortunate to have all of you advocating for us, so thank you. You know, I was remiss before, and I wanted to congratulate Kara on the great news. I think it really ties to what we're talking about here, that the Long Island Regional Economic Development Council was awarded $10 million to push forward housing and really to help not only our young professionals, but many of the things that we're talking about on Long Island. So many exciting things going on Long Island. I hope we walk out of this meeting optimistic, because yes, the world is crazy, but there's a lot of great things happening on Long Island. Join us February 14th for our economic summit, again in this room, where you'll hear from major CEOs in different industries about the forecast of 2024, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.